This is what we know about Max Verstappen's new Red Bull. From Racing News 365, my name is Nick Golding, and we are going to do a deep dive into what is expected from the Milton Keynes base team's 2025 Challenger. But before we get on with the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. On that note, let's get on with the video. Formula 1 fans, and in particular those in the Netherlands, will be eagerly awaiting Max Verstappen's new Red Bull RB21, which will also be driven by full-time rookie Liam Lawson. Whilst it is only January and still several weeks until the season-opening Australian Grand Prix, several details of Red Bull's new car are known. To understand what the Red Bull RB21 will look like, it is important to first look back at 2024. The team delivered what was a dominant car at the beginning of the season, but one which could not be effectively developed. The window in which the car functioned became narrower and narrower, whilst the competition, like McLaren and Ferrari, did manage to improve its cars with targeted upgrades. Red Bull managed to find some balance in the car at the tail end of the championship, but there was no permanent solution to the RB20's problems. Progress was made, but the RB20's operating window remained too narrow. This year, its car must become less sensitive to small adjustments for Verstappen to pursue a fifth consecutive driver's title. But will Red Bull work on making its car work in a wider operating window? It is said that we may not really see very much. Racing News 365 understands that Red Bull is committed to simplifying the RB21's aerodynamics, something that will only be visible through subtle adjustments to the side pods and the engine cover. The majority of the changes will be invisible and will relate to the floor and to a lesser extent the underside of the wings. Red Bull Technical Director Pierre Wache, more on him later, confirmed that invisible point in an exclusive Racing News 365 interview. Wache said, "If you look at the visible aspect of the car, everyone has the same concept as us in 2022, with a wider bodywork at the rear. However, it's more about how you develop the car under the skin. We're here to do our job and develop the car as well as possible." The underlying message? Don't expect a radically different 2025 car, or as people often say, a revolutionised car. Even if Red Bull saw opportunities to introduce a completely new concept, it is not profitable in a year before F1 implements completely new technical regulations. Therefore, Red Bull is looking closely at what can be kept from the RB20 and which areas need to be revised. For the first time since 2007, the main person responsible for this process is not Adrian Newey. F1's top designer has left Red Bull for Aston Martin. Wache, who worked closely with Newey, has taken over his role as Red Bull's technical director. Wache was often criticised when Red Bull's decline started in 2024, but he was equally responsible for Verstappen winning multiple races again towards the end of last year. A small warning in advance to new Red Bull driver Lawson: the new car will be built with Verstappen's driving characteristics in mind. Advisor Dr. Helmut Marko has confirmed this. Marko recently said in his Speed Week column, "Since we have the fastest and best driver in the field in Max, it is also clear that we have to take into account his preferences during development. When it comes to the handling of the car, I'm sure he will stay with Red Bull Racing as long as we offer him a competitive car." What are those Verstappen car preferences? The Dutchman likes a sharp, responsive front end to an extreme level of sensitivity. How that feels? Former teammate and current Williams driver Alex Albon once explained in a playful way. Speaking to the Players Tribune, Albon said, "As if you are playing a Call of Duty with the highest degree of sensitivity of the controller." It was a comparison also made recently by Lawson. Speaking of Verstappen's wishes, the 27-year-old is keen for Red Bull to introduce a fresh livery, rather than reuse the design which has featured since 2016. Speaking on the Talking Balls podcast, Verstappen said, "I'm really looking forward to seeing my new car, especially the livery of it. I hope for something new. I really like to see cars with shiny colours. We've had so many dull blue cars now. I think sometimes it's just nice to spice up the colour scheme a bit. The fact that Verstappen made his request known in a podcast set up by Red Bull may indicate that something new may actually be coming. On the other hand, decking out a car in a full gloss paint is also associated with an increase in weight. But perhaps the increase in the minimum weight of an F1 car by 2 kilograms gives Red Bull just enough leeway to meet Verstappen's shiny request. When you talk about the livery, you are of course also talking about the various sponsorship logos on the car. An F1 car is decorated, or marred, depending on how you look at it, by several stickers of the World Paint sponsors' logos. Red Bull is no exception, although its sponsorship portfolio for 2025 does look different, meaning the livery will also be adjusted accordingly. In 2024, crypto company Bybit was prominently visible on the RB20, but in 2025 it will no longer be the case. Its contract expired and has not been renewed. Of course, along with Sergio Perez, some Mexican sponsors have also left the team. On the other hand, new sponsors have already been announced and more collaborations will reportedly be revealed soon. An F1 car, whether it is very different or not to its predecessor, is nothing without a good engine. For the final time this year, that responsibility lies with Honda before the Japanese manufacturer joins Newey and Aston Martin as its engine supplier. Of course, the power unit is broadly the same as in previous years due to the freezing of the regulations, but small software updates just to eke out a little bit more performance or reliability can be made. A title this year would be the fitting icing on the Red Bull Honda cake. So, when can we really see the RB21? That is a bit of a question. For the first time, F1 is organising a launch show where all 10 teams will be present. This is scheduled for February the 18th at the O2 Arena in London. However, it is expected that the teams will all opt to use a show car equipped with its new livery. Red Bull has already indicated that there will be no launch of its own, so there is a good chance that we will only really see the actual RB21 in action for the first time during the official pre-season test in Bahrain. Unless Red Bull is going to be generous with images of a shakedown. Fingers crossed. And even then, it remains to be seen whether the car we see in Bahrain for testing is also the car we will see at the season finale in Abu Dhabi. The question is how often and to what extent the car will change under the influence of major or non-major upgrade packages. Yes, its lower position of third in the constructors' standings last year will allow Red Bull to run more wind tunnel hours and computer simulations than before, but every dime can only be spent once, and the dilemma regarding when to focus on the 2026 car remains. One thing we know for sure is that Verstappen's car will remain with the number 1. As champion, he can choose from the championship number or his traditional personal number, 33. He has clearly stated in the past that he will continue to carry the number 1 as long as he is champion. The official FIA entry list confirmed that. Verstappen will drive the RB21 with the number 1 this year. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments what you think Red Bull will achieve this year. See you later.